Okay.
And go. Here we are.
Here we are. Okay. Hello, Ted. Hello, Scott. Here we are talking to each other for the first time to the public, even though we talk to each other all the time. Maybe even more than necessary sometimes. But yeah, today we are getting together because we want to tell the world, our fans, and people who are interested in LUNA Sandals about our U.S. manufacturing operations and U.S. operations in general, because we don't only have manufacturing in the U.S. We also have our fulfillment and our other team members, and we will kind of like walk through history in the last 13-ish years, how we got to where we are right now and how we started and why we literally call ourselves a garage band sometimes. And there are some fun stories and interesting answers to interesting questions. So maybe we'll start. Ted, why don't you introduce everyone to everyone?
Okay, well, howdy folks. You might know me as Barefoot Ted, and it turns out that I want to, hopefully if you don't know me, you're going to get to know me a little bit better. LUNA Sandals and Barefoot Ted, for me, it's like a dream come true. It's like the dream company. It's like, as a kid growing up, I would have loved to have been a president of a skateboard or a surfboard company. Turns out I'm the president of a sandal company, and it turns out sandals are like a tool I think people use to get outdoors, to experience their life, to have a thrill, to have fun, to connect with nature, to get strong, to get fit, and to be comfortable in their own skin. And we're just like so thankful that we could play a role in creating those kind of vehicles of experience. And in order to be the company we've become and be able to stay in business for as long as we've had, it's required a whole team of people. But you're currently looking at really the triad of how LUNA Sandals stays alive and keeps moving forward. And these two people are playing significant roles. I'll introduce the highest ranking first, only for sake of, she's on the top of the screen right now, but Liv McDonald, who happens to also be my wife, took over the CEO work after Scott warmed the nest and got it prepared for her, we can say. And she's continued to play that role of the CEO now for, I think it's 3 years now, isn't that right? Or coming close to it or more. Who knows? A lot of work behind the scenes has happened because of what she's done. So Liv McDonald, thank you for your CEO contributions. But equally important, more important in the sense of the genesis of this company, is Scott Schmewen, who I met by accident in a park near where I was living in Seattle. And one thing led to another, and suddenly we found ourselves wrangled in a sandal company in a garage.
What park was that for people from Seattle who will listen to this? Which park?
Oh yeah, Volunteer Park. And it's like I ran into these young fellows. It was Scott and his brother, and it was like they were wearing sandals and they knew who I was, and I had this dream of trying to get this some kind of sandal company going, and how that would be done, I just didn't know for sure. But once I started realizing, maybe young people right here in Seattle, I mean, they were there in town wanting to make their way so they could get some money so they could buy some land somewhere out in Escalante, Utah, where I just got back from a trip from. And I'm telling you, we made a great team because we basically made a company out of, basically found objects and sweat equity. And that big ball we got rolling back then has turned out to become a pretty significant ongoing project of trying to get more and more people stoked with sandals. And man, what an incredible journey it's been. So I don't know how we should pass it around, but Scott, I guess, as being like the founder, part of that process that turned this into a real thing, what do you say? Isn't it been a fun trip?
Yeah, it's been 12 years now. Yeah, first, hi everybody. Yeah, I'm stoked to be talking about all of this. Yeah, 12 years, pretty crazy thinking about like being in Volunteer Park, seeing this crazy guy run around with these two giant huskies, and pretty wild ride. And then going to visit you in your garage, your little Model T garage. It was about the size of my desk here, and
Yeah, let's talk about. Actually,
uh,
Scott, where are you right now? Just tell us a little bit about, because we're seeing giant walls behind you. So,
yeah, totally. So this is our Wenatchee operations for our U.S. manufacturing and distribution here. So we're in Central Washington on the east side of the Cascades, and in a old restored apple processing facility that's been renovated, and now it's pumping sandals out the door.
but
Yeah, a
that's
nice little
definitely not
warehouse
the
here.
Model T garage. Where was the Model T garage, and how did you guys find yourselves over there?
Yeah, Teddy.
Well, that's a funny story. I was living, it was just a garage that was connected to an apartment building I was living in. And it was like, it turned out you could rent the garage. I think they sort of expected that you would put a car in there. I don't know that they realized that we were going to basically start a garage band. I really do that element of like a garage band, the concept that, you really aren't a professional yet, but you got a lot of desire to do something, make some kind of music, make some kind of thing. We didn't know a lot, but we were learning a lot by doing. And I think there's something to be said about just like grappling with it. And so yeah, this little garage started like we started getting, when the book Born to Run came out, it certainly suddenly increased radically the amount of attention Barefoot Ted was getting and whatever I was doing at the time. And it was people were really expecting me to have some kind of footwear answer for them. And so I had been, of course, I wore the 5-finger shoe, and I was, instrumental in seeing that kind of the whole middle. I mean, people will look back and say, "Oh yeah, the minimalist quote unquote footwear movement definitely got a huge boost because of the 5 fingers, the book Born to Run, and so forth." And I just felt like I needed to create something to fit into that space that I could really like, that I would be responsible for. That I often say we're like surfers making surfboards, and I really wanted to be at the nexus where what is being made, I could like give the okay for it. Like, and what LUNA Sandals for me has been all this time with all of us working together is like the sandal being the music. It feels like we're just making better and better music. And each time we come up with something new, it's just because we've sort of developed this organic sort of like work together in this process of trying to materialize sandals, and we have so much experience now doing it, we've become among the best in the world at doing this, and we get to interact with some of the best in the world. And that process of trying to scale that dream and do it all in Seattle, that was wow. No one would dream that would be the way a sandal company would start, like in the middle. Literally our final Seattle workshop garage was literally like, and had been a egg noodle factory in the 1920s, and then a whole host of other things, and it was on its last leg essentially. And we kind of like in the like literally blocks away from the Space Needle and the Gates Foundation, we had this crazy sandal company pumping out sandals as fast and as furious as we could, never able to keep up with the demand, and have definitely birthed 1,000 other little tiny, we created a whole ecosystem. And now 12 years later, we're finally in a position where we've been able to take all that energy that we generated, learn all those lessons, hone our skills and our crafts, and then, boy, was it incredibly important for us to be still in business and able to scale and reach a worldwide market, is when we started being able to start making sandals overseas to supplement the sandals that we can make here in the States. And so now we have this really incredible ability to grow a market in the whole world, while at the same time being at the cusp of being able to craft whatever's coming up next. I mean, I really
going back to the garage, the first garage, the Model T garage for a second. There were, it was a tiny little place. I haven't even seen it. I wasn't around then. I have not. Oh, I guess I have seen it, but not when it was the LUNA factory. So what were you, I mean, we sometimes, you know, remember those days and we talk about like things that we were proud of, funny things that have happened, so many people being in there all at once at some point. What was it like? How did you guys do shipping? Who was making sandals?
Well, I had a makeshift system. It was, look, before Scott came on, basically employee number one and co-founder, it's essentially like I had a system going. It like, you know, that was, you know, forcing it was a one monkey operation, quote unquote. And I had a system that was allowing me, I was making it was pretty darn busy, and it was actually wearing me out. I mean, my shoulder was getting wrecked at cutting the rubber. Yeah. But I think Scott like picked up on it like right away. I mean, you basically came
because you guys were cutting by hand, right?
By
you
hand.
Didn't have any die cuts. You didn't
People
have
would send in their footprints. We would take their footprint. We would create a shape. Scott, I must say, like I had a system, and when Scott came on, he was able to like quickly, you know, I mean, it didn't take long at all to get up to speed where I was, because he had skills. You know, he'd been making things, so he had the ability. We were so like, it was really like basic stuff, right? You cut a material, you put a hole, you know, you put it in a box. Scott, though, like really quickly picked that up and then started improving on it, like right away, like just presentations. I used to be like, oh my God, not another sandal. Like it was like I was worn out. My bike would be stuffed. I would have the racks. I had like this bike with all these racks, and I would like pack full of packages that I would like ride furiously regularly down to the post office to try to, you know, it was a maddening, and there was no room to grow. Once Scott was on there, and then we got his brother helping us, and it started like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was like, oh yeah, it was like we were starting a fire. We were rubbing sticks together, and now we started having some members. And I don't know, Scott, you picked up on it just like real quickly when you started coming to. Can you remember some of your first days in the garage?
I remember some of my first days in the garage for sure. I remember learning how, literally to cut every single pair with the razor blade on a cutting mat by hand, custom cut just with a razor blade, and just cutting every single pair. It was either a DIY kit or a custom cut, and they would send their footprint, and that was it. And we were just cranking them out of the garage. And that summer went really fast because we transitioned pretty quickly into like, okay, like let's do this, like let's commit. And so I remember some of our like product development projects on like how we were improving these. It was so funny. It was just like, you know, the gold moon spray painted. So
that is
basically,
tell us about that. What is
classic gold moon story. So Ted found this oil can. It was basically like this oil dispensing can that had a round lid about this big on the top of it. Cut the top off of it. The bottom circled down to about like this big. So it was just a funnel. And we would take this like gold flecked spray paint, basically, and use this can to spray a little gold moon onto the heel of the suede of the leather of the footbed.
Yeah, those are classics,
LUNA Moon
man.
brand.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Then we can confidently say that the modern Lunas people see today was not like created by a product developer from scratch, all matured with mature materials. It took a lot of evolution and time, us experimenting on different kinds of ways of doing it, and also different kinds of materials.
You know, and thankfully our customers evolved with us. Like we have such good fans and customers that evolved with our product development process, you know, as we were going fast and furious to make the best things we possibly can, and we were learning along the way. You know, our customers were just awesome and fully on the journey of
absolutely
of sandal development.
We've been
so then it became too busy and too small of a space over there in the Model T garage. And then I see our first and second moves of, you know, factory moves almost like leap of faith because they seem like big jumps. and they were scary. We were not sure, all the time. But how do you guys remember that first move from the Model T garage to basically, how would you call that space? It was like a part of a shared office floor.
It was supposed to be.
It was definitely
office.
not a factory. Yeah,
No.
yeah. It was even not the entry floor. It was the second floor.
Yeah. What do you remember about that space, Ted?
Oh, it was we felt super stoked to find it because it was so LUNA Sandals starts in this neighborhood called Capitol Hill, and it's really a super, super nice part of Seattle. So we were like I don't know, almost like street urchins in a sense, figuring out how to like make an economy, a sandal company in an area and a situation that just doesn't fit this thing at all. It just shows you how much will we had to do this project because it just doesn't fit. But we found that place, and it was going to be like $1,000 a month, and it was just like, how in God's name are we going to do that? I think that was like more. That was a lot of money. It seemed like to me, and it was a cockamamie sort of building itself. Like you had to go upstairs to get to this room, and so forth and so on. But ultimately, it was a pretty cool space once you were in it, don't you think, Scott? It had like a lot of big windows, and we were looking out into trees, and I don't know. That whole area of Seattle is so green and lush, and I mean, it's not you wouldn't expect it to be this place to make sandals, but ultimately, when it's summer there, it's like these super long, beautiful days with big, beautiful parks and sidewalks and cities to meander in. And I think we were kind of growing a business and having a pretty good lifestyle all at the same time in a place that's one of the nicest places in the whole country.
I actually remember my first day visiting the factory very clearly. It was a totally memorable day for me. So first I met Ted in 2012, and then he gave me a pair of Lunas, and I started wearing Lunas and fell in love with them, and really, really loved the product and the story, of course. And, through Ted, started hearing stories about all the people who are involved in the brand. And when I moved to Seattle and went to the factory for the first time, I remember feeling so emotional. It looked so real. There was a real process, and there were raw materials, and there were really cool people. Like, we entered the building, and you went up the stairs right away. And when we were going up the stairs, Scott was coming down the stairs. So he was the first person that I met. And then there were like super cool people. And the product was literally, what was it? Like less than 1,000 square foot. Right. It was basically like a large room. Yeah. So in that tiny little place, thousands of sandals were being made. And, you got to be so efficient, so effective, so organized. And it was all happening there. And at that time, many sandals were going all around the world. So it was super cool. When you think of a brand, you usually think, whoa, like they must be so big with a huge team and, a humongous like investors and stuff like that. It really doesn't have to be. I mean, that happens too, but it doesn't have to be that way. Just seeing it so real and personable of a brand, it was incredible.
It's been the coolest thing to watch, right, Scott? I mean, geez.
Yeah, it has been. As a side tangent topic, do you want to tell how you guys had met? How you guys met? Because that's right in that era.
Well, yeah, look, it's a very lucky because Barefoot Ted was getting some notoriety. I got invited to do a ultra marathon in Turkey, a 6-day run. And the great news there, it's my favorite story because I met Liv in the village where St. Nicholas was born and did his ministry. And I didn't know that. And St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, is like one of my favorite saints. So Liv kind of is like a dream for me to be able to like come into my life and be a partner and be a helpmate and be it's the full Monty, the full package. And it's that trip and being able to be Barefoot Ted and then being able to have a sandal company and running in your sandals. I mean, it's been a great way to attract, well, this team, right? We have this vision has inspired us all here, and we've done something about it. And what we've done, I really believe, I mean, I'm personally just endlessly proud of it, and just look forward to like continuing to manifest this, the highest quality, most comfortable. You don't have to avert your eyes. It's a product, and just keep growing this. Our fans, our customers out there in the world. It's like I look forward to just seeing riffing more and more on that sort of process of creating an object that people use to go out into the world and just have a great experience every day. I mean, I really want to start really making that become what it is. It's the heart of our brand. It's really just an encouragement. And I was wanting to riff also on one of our mottos, which is run free, which is just such an attitude I think we've all had, where it's like, it's super important to be able to be do the best you can at really becoming as familiar as you can, as grateful as you can be to the incredible thing that you are as a human being. And I think Born to Run woke us up to some of these capacities we have. And LUNA Sandals is really just a brand that's really wanting you to, in whatever capacity, from an ultra marathon down to just getting outdoors every day, we want our brand to be one that people are using as a tool to help them find the most vital and happy and fit version of themselves, and find that balance between, performance and a daily practice. I don't know. I've been riffing a lot these days, you guys, lately on 60 is the new 21. And so I'm 58 in a week, and I feel like I'm getting closer to being like, almost like I can say I'm going to be a graduate here soon. I'm going to be, officially old enough to be able to say something meaningful and believable about what it all is about. But I'll tell you, being a sandal maker is by far the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's the most fun I've ever had too.
Yeah, so then I remember being at that factory and literally jumping over boxes. We were busting at the seams, and it was becoming clear that we needed more space. And then we came across this building, the space on 5th and Aloha, 3 blocks from the Space Needle in Seattle. And we went there, and I remember Ted and I were so intimidated by it, both because of its cost, and then we thought it was 5,000 square foot. We don't need this kind of space. And we were talking to the owner, maybe we can, like somehow divide the building into 2, and then he can rent out the half of it to someone else, and then we can take the half of it. And then we ended up renting out the whole building. And then what happened? It wasn't as big as we thought that it would be for us.
Yeah, I remember transitioning from the Capitol Hill space. That was kind of a moving from DIY to production. It was that transition period. I want to say it was like maybe 2010 to 2013. Is that the year we moved? Was it 13?
I think we moved in 2014.
14?
Actually, it was the solstice. We had our solstice party.
That's right. You're right.
2014.
Super fun.
June 21st.
Getting in there was really kind of the transition from still a bit of a DIY company into like, all right, we're moving into the next league as a full production company. Like, in order to cover everything and build a team and build a product, this is the real deal here. We gotta shoot big here. And it was such a fun and good space, being over there. I have good memories of our solstice party with all of the LUNA ambassadors. We had a dance party in the retail space.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. And also we had a great kitchen.
The stairs. They helped us paint the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then we became at that time up to 20 people working there, really having a serious flow. Scott and the rest of the team created an amazing production flow for the first time, really, rather than having little stations here and there. We had a flow. We had our shipping area, we had our offices, we had a little retail space that we had fun with where, it was open and we were having a lot of people, local people come in, even people all around the world come and visit us, our distributors. Yeah, yeah.
It was cool. I mean, that I think we when we all lived in Seattle, we basically ultimately I think we basically created one of the coolest lifestyles, and we did some of the coolest things. I mean, of course I'm biased, right? But really so unique and out there that it really ultimately is like no one else could make what we fly.
And
we
when we first moved, it felt okay because we were moving from one neighborhood where there basically it wasn't even the part of Capitol Hill where there are a lot of restaurants and businesses, a lot of social activity. It was really a neighborhood part of the play of Capitol Hill. But the Queen Anne was more or less the same. It was right on the edge where the houses end and where the offices start. And when we moved, I think, Amazon was still growing. Google was barely there. There was not, it was a little bit of a different scene. And at the end of we stayed there almost 7 years, I think 6 years and a half. Towards the end of it.
Yeah, COVID
it felt so awkward, like there were humongous tech buildings all around us and all the tech people, and we were just like making sandals.
Yeah, COVID was the mercy killing of that operation. I mean, basically the city just completely changed, and we were knowing that we needed to move. It was becoming clear that, downtown Seattle was not the ideal place for a sandal company. And so in 2017, that's when we moved personally to Santa Barbara, California, back to where I'm from. And we started thinking, okay, maybe we'll just, as our lease time runs out, I forget when date was going to be, but we'll just move operations down to California. And then, there was a time, Scott, you left and went and did the other small project with your, potentially big project, but a project with your brother. So you were gone for a little bit, and it was like, oh, we'll just move this down to California. And it was like, this ultimately was looking to be far more complicated. And basically COVID forced us really to reevaluate everything. And it was a very tough time for LUNA Sandals. I mean, we were on the ropes when, from late March to late May 2020, it was 3 people running all of LUNA Sandals, when the same time the year before, same place, same situation, there were, dozens basically, or 2 dozen maybe, who knows, and 15 at least in production. It was dire. And overcoming that hurdle and getting our stride back, and then Scott coming back in June 2020, wasn't it, Scott, or May 2020? And then sort of it was like we were starting to have to make a decision about where we're going to move. And I'm telling you, when the answer became Wenatchee, and Wenatchee, folks, it's just such an incredibly great place. It's hard to believe until you've been there. It's not a well-known area of the state of Washington for most people out of the state. But the Eastern Cascades and the Cascades themselves in that region is just truly one of the beautiful places in the world. And it's just an absolute thrill. Scott had already discovered it. I mean, I can let you tell the story, Scott, but Scott had already put a footprint over there in buying some land. And that's the whole reason. Yeah, can you tell that story? I mean, basically, Scott made a decision to live in that region and was doing all he could to make that a possibility. And yeah, tell a little bit, how did you get attracted to it, Scott, that region? And boy, once we decided that it was going to be Wenatchee, man, did we start firing some good bullseyes.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, I moved over here around the same time you guys moved to Santa Barbara I moved over here late 2017, and my now wife had moved over here about 11 years ago. And I was still at LUNA at the time, but anyway, over here, being on the east side of the Cascades, it's sunnier, it's warmer, it's smaller. We're right against the mountains, plenty of mountain access. There's desert access. It's just exactly what I needed on like looking at what Seattle was and what it's becoming and where I wanted to be in my life. It for me is perfect. I absolutely love it over here, and having my wife have roots over here, it was a huge draw. So we came over here, and it's the best. Santa Barbara excluded.
I love that story. Once we decided, we started. We were in the market. We were ready to pull the trigger. We really wanted to get it done. It was the perfect storm for us. We now had a smaller team because of COVID and because of moving part of our production operations to overseas. It was the perfect storm. And we found our space, which was in construction, basically. It was getting renovated. We found our space. And then right around, we were going to move on the first day of 2021, right? 2021. So in November, which is a great season for us, it's the slower season on all counts, both manufacturing and sales. So in November, Ted and I went to Seattle and we started packing. And Ted and I were camping at the factory. Scott was going. You were also camping at the factory a few days a week, right? You were coming.
Yeah.
So we were literally living in the factory. We had a great kitchen. We were living in the factory, and we started building pallets, one pallet after another, packing every single thing. It was an amazing process.
I have some time-lapse photos of that.
Very exciting process because it was a new beginning coming. But we stayed there until the end of the year. We had Christmas. In the meantime, we had New Year's, and then we had plans. Literally, like working. I don't know, Scott. I remember you being awake. Like I would be sometimes in the tent sleeping, and you would be awake, and I would hear the pallets and what do you call it, the forklifts, and moving around just so that we get in time. Like our transportation will come, and then we'll have to be ready for it.
Totally. Yeah, it was so funny. I think about we packed up, I forget, probably about 50 pallets, and we did 2 full semi trucks, so 2 48-foot trailers. And it's just ridiculous. Around I remember to get the forklift into the space, I had to sawzall out this part of the wall to make the forklift fit exactly through this little section in the garage so we could get the pallets out of it. But it really just reminds me of how much the DIY ethic has has really driven the forward momentum of our company, as far as if there's something we need to get done, we're going to figure out and do it. We make plenty of mistakes too, but we aren't waiting for anyone to give us permission or to do you can't wait for every little thing to be perfect. You got to get out there and make it happen. And, we have a lot of all right, we're making it happen.
Yep. And then there was this, in the glue room, there was this incredibly heavy press. You guys remember it? If we dropped it, we could have never lifted it up again. It was this strange thing. And then I remember us very carefully somehow moving it from its space, which was super tight because it was in this glue room that we built, basically our old production manager Matt built, and then put it on a little square table on rollers and brought it to the factory.
There were a lot of amazing, in the end, and I've been around that. I've been around in the carousel business back in the day, and you start realizing when you have to move a lot of different complex structures, things, different kinds of shapes and sizes and whatnot, and you've got to put it. It's an incredibly complex thing to do well, and it just takes a lot of work. And it's just the amount of focused work and attention to get all that done and to pull it all off. And it was just like, it's like we've been just running and running and running and running. And it's really this video, this is like really one of our first times to sort of catch up. Like we have the time to tell you the story about what's been going on. It's like literally, haven't we basically been going, basically, we've been still living well and trying to take good care of ourselves, but it's basically been all hands on deck as much as possible for quite a long time now. It's like there hasn't been a lot of room for, hey, let's tell everybody about how great it is, because we've been just trying to get to the point where we can tell you, hey, it's a lot better now than ever before. And we're so thankful that you and our fans have stuck with us. And now we're happy that you get to hear a little bit more about what's under the hood, who we are, what we've done. But we are really thankful to be able to have kept the spirit of our company alive. And we're so thankful that we're able to make the best products we've ever been able to make and offer them to a wider audience than we've ever been able to offer them. So I would say all the hard work really pays off a lot when you start seeing and getting like positive reviews and hearing stories about, this changed their perspective on what they could do or what was possible for them, or what, all the various things. And just being able to look at beautiful sandals, we are like, we spend a lot of time looking at and playing with sandals more than, there are just very few other people who do as much with sandals that we do. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. People are like, gosh, you have so many sandals. And that's true. It can be somewhat, overwhelming at first. But what I say is, once you understand our brand and love our brand, you'll find yourself wanting to try other things. And having just one thing we just don't have just one way of telling you what, there isn't just one way to ride a wave. There's just not one surfboard. And we thankfully have a lot of different ways to help you, go out and have a great experience with sandals. We've got this is our space. We're sandal makers. We are 21st century sandal makers. Perhaps we're part of one. I think it's easy to make an argument that it's probably one of the oldest continuously existing, or one of the oldest continuously existing human invented tools that have made life a little bit more comfortable and a little bit better for enough to make it so that we can still have conversations like this. Boom.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah. I also want to, so then we made the move. And it was to me, it was incredibly exciting, fresh new page, like that, the whole space we're seeing behind Scott right now, and even more in front
and
of
what a community. Scott, the community of Wenatchee, the employees we have in Wenatchee, the spirit of Wenatchee, our landlord in Wenatchee. It has been like one snowballing, absolutely like, oh my gosh, this place is great. Can you tell Scott, really, man, can you tell them about Bart? We just had so many, like once we decided Wenatchee would be the place and we started just like, it's like, it really developed fast where we started getting some good hints. And, Bart Tilley certainly was, and maybe tell a little bit of the story about, once I said, it was like somewhere, I forget, maybe in August, I suddenly like realized, oh my gosh, Scott's over there in Kashmir, Wenatchee area. Maybe we should look in Wenatchee for where we'll move the factory. And like, once we started that, boy, man, it really started going. Can you tell that story, Scott?
Yeah, it snowballed really fast. Yeah, once I started looking at spaces over here, I reached out to the Port Authority of Chelan, and they were super helpful. They showed me a bunch of spaces. But when they showed me this old fruit packing warehouse that actually was pretty run down and dilapidated, and like, I remember meeting the owner, this guy Bart Tilley, and he was like an outdoor guy. He's quite the character, but he was like, "This is your space. You're going to want to wear this space. This is your space." And I was like, "I don't know. This doesn't look like our space." I'm going to go look at some other ones.
Yeah, it definitely requires some imagination, huh?
It required some imagination, but he followed up, and it was clear, like, he was going to do something really cool with this space, and he followed through and nailed it. Like, that guy is, I think, indicative of the type of people that we have over here, who are just like, he is like ski touring and mountain biking. He'll go ski 20 miles and 10,000 feet in the North Cascades. He'll go bike 50 miles. He's just like a true athlete. As like, I'm not sure how old he is, like 60s, but amazing dude. He's a community staple leader here. And yeah, the community's just been so easy to build here as well. We kind of got tapped right into it from the get-go and built a really good team. Amazing crew here, and just the networking and the slightly smaller community here has been perfect for us.
It feels so warm over there, you know, when we visit Wenatchee too. Like, we have, oh, we lost Ted. Hey Ted, maybe you can come over here. Yeah, come over here. It's fine. Oh, he's coming back.
Come back.
And then we met Jason and his family, and became good friends with a lot of people that we started working with, including our employees. You know, like, we spend a lot of time hanging out together and doing cool things, including making sandals.
Yeah, it's the space we're in. We are a block from the Columbia Riverfront right here, which has an amazing parkway that follows the whole length of the river. So you can walk, it's actually like half a block to the parkway, go down, there's beaches to hang out at, there's shops, there's cool stuff just right on the riverway. You can do an 11-mile loop on what's called the loop trail. But yeah, we take the crew and go barbecue at the beach and go swim and go boat, and kind of got tied right into such an amazing group of people over here.
Oh man!
Oh, I bet some people who are watching this video will also wonder, whoa, can I go and see the factory if they're watching the video, or get Lunas? Where can they get Lunas in Wenatchee?
Yeah, so we've partnered with one of the local shoe shops here. How long have they been in business? Like 80 years or something? I forget. More. Like 100 years? I don't know. Basically,
over 100 years
of Wenatchee. I forget, but they're called American Shoe Shop. The owner's name is Josh, and they're awesome. They carry Lunas here. So if you're coming into town, you want to pick up some Lunas, that's your spot. American Shoe Shop. Partnered with them. They're great. Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to, as time goes on, getting a chance to explore. I mean, one of the things I learned is, if I didn't live in Santa Barbara, right? If I hadn't been a Californian, and I mean, it's just Wenatchee is like certain. It's certainly one of the great places. I'm proud to be there. I look forward to like just continuing to grow Luna there. I think it's the perfect place for U.S. operations. I think it's got the cheapest and greenest electricity in the United States because of the dam, and you've got just like I don't know, the whole homesteading kind of ethos of that area really reminds me of just like, I don't know, people who are finding ways to get things done and be productive and make cool stuff, and being able to take and regenerate like an old Apple storage building and turn it into a sandal company. Scott, you've done just fabulous in basically we matured our system of making sandals pretty darn well over the course of time, but being able to like start afresh and know where we want to get to and just sort of construct it, have the DIY like attitude, like you said, and like really go about making. Basically, no one can make a better sandal shop for making Luna sandals than we can. I mean, we know what to do. We just never quite had the space like we had now. So I think what we've created is just like, yeah, it's legit. It really, it's fun to be able to build something that allows, well, my joke is this: sandals require human beings for their reproduction, every aspect of it. So we're kind of like, I kind of like see, you know, we're the cellular activity of sandals, and the factory is kind of like a giant cell, and all the stuff's got to happen inside of there. And boy, when you've got, I'm telling you, people, I'm totally serious about this. When you have a setup where you have all the things that you need to put together and make something like, in our case, a sandal, and you go about that process and get a flow of that process, there's a satisfaction in that feeling of productivity that's just palpable. You know, you string a sandal, there's a sandal. There's no other way that's going to get done. A human being's got to fiddle around with that thing. And when you master it, though, and you all master that process and you get into that flow, you can converse, you can listen to a podcast. There's a lot of things in that state that you're being very busy, but you're still quite lucid, and it can be very pleasant. So, I mean, being able to create it, I always said that I didn't want to be making people do something that I wouldn't be willing or want to do myself. So trying to find and create stations and setups that make the process of making sandals as fun and as seamless and as flowing as possible, so that time whiles away nicely, and that, you know, you feel like you've got that process of creating that kind of environment turns out to be a kind of superpower that I wasn't really, I don't know, wasn't convinced it was possible, or I didn't know if I had what it takes. But by doing it and doing it and doing it, we've like whipped ourselves into a place where now I think we actually know how to make pretty good decisions about a lot of different things. And I look forward to how we can keep doing that into the future.
Yeah, it's really thinking about all the different pieces that need to be in place to have a good company, a overall company, of just like the product has to be dialed. Like your sourcing has to be dialed, your shipping, your distribution, your like leadership structure, like all of it. There's so many pieces that each piece is so challenging. You know, we've had like challenges with each one of those over the years, and you know, it's really exciting to be like, all right, each one of those pieces, they're all pretty dang good right now. You know, like it's really exciting to finally be at the point where like, yeah, each piece is looking good. The product's awesome. Our team's good. Our distribution is good. Our sourcing is good, even though, you know, last year was chaos, but we've just modeled in the chaos and it's great. It's awesome. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah. We learned how to adapt too. And it was really an experiential learning, you know, like nobody brought us to a theoretical room and then told us, you know, oh, this is how you surf. You know, you don't have to go in the ocean, into the ocean. Here, we're going to, in this room, teach you how to balance and which board to pick and how to move and everything. We literally had to go in there and be in the waves. And finally, you know, started being able to get up and ride the wave and feeling the smoothness and feeling good of the, you know, feeling the flow and going with the flow. And
then wiping out.
Wipe outs.
Wipe outs, yes.
Yeah.
Got to be able to wipe out, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And
not die, right? Not drown.
Don't die. Wipe out, don't die, and then get stronger and better so you don't have to wipe out anymore. Like, at some point, and that's one of the things I'm starting, like in skateboarding and some of the other things I'm doing, I really started, I have the, you know, I'm starting to really want to riff strongly. And I mean, we're going to wrap this up soon, but the idea is that when you really love the sport or thing that you do, and you're engaged in it, and you're keeping yourself healthy, and you're keeping your mind curious, and you're able to create things and improve on things, it's a lifetime process, and you get better and better with those things. Like I'm almost, you know, I'm 58, but when I skateboard now, I'm telling you, I'm better than I've ever been. I don't make some of the mistakes I might make that might cause it so that I wouldn't. I know how to pick a better, but you know, the selective process about what to do and how to do it is getting better, not because of anything other than just the persistent, it's like the better ends up coming if you persist and you actually find the way. The way comes. So we've been finding the way, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how people, does this give them is this fascinating to see what's under the hood? Is this like, oh man, LUNA Sandals? I really am going to be curious to see how people respond to our, you know, like revealing some of what it's been like the last, 12 years ultimately. But all I can say is I'm just so thankful to have had this opportunity to be, you know, in this space, to be creating footwear, to be inspiring people or encouraging people to do what they do with our sandals. And I just, I'm totally committed to this for a lifetime. There's nothing else I'd prefer to do. And yeah, I'm stoked. I see, I want to keep making sandals until the cows come home.
And really, it's, all this process, all the wax out and everything, it becomes so much worth it when you get, in our Slack channel every now and then. Well, actually pretty regularly, we would share messages from our customers, and they're so often so truly touching, because they would write about like how this product and the story changed their lives and allowed them to have a look at how they move, how they perceive the world, how they connect with nature in a much deeper and different way. So I think those things just fire me up so much. I just love seeing that, and that people, our fans, are so generous to take their time to write us all their stories and tell us all the details of like what their experiences look like.
Totally.
Yeah, Luna fans and customers are like truly amazing. That is definitely one of the things that makes being here and doing this and everything special. Just having hearing all the stories, interacting with all the people, and just I don't know, it's crazy that there's such like a movement or a culture, or I don't even know what to call it, but something, because it's cool. People are so stoked on it.
Yeah. And then we use the product too. One of the reasons we got into this business is because we wanted to have these tools to be able to do some of the things that all of us have had over the years, all kinds of incredible experiences, and it's reached out to, our friends and family and all the rest have, sort of like at least taken this road with us and enjoy, we've got to,
I know there's so many stories. I'm thinking about 2010 and 2011 crewing and pacing you at Leadville, with Christopher McDougall there, meeting famous people who are doing the movie, and being at various races, just getting I don't know, 2 a.m. in Leadville, freezing as we're running at mile 72 or whatever.
Yeah, those early days,
a lot of cool stories.
Yeah, totally, and totally awesome. And so in the end, we've been able to keep this brand alive. We've been able to build a community of users all over the world, and we're just gonna, we're in it. So, folks, thank you for listening. I think you're going to love what you see. I think you need to go, if you haven't, check out lunasandals.com. We've recently sort of upgraded some of the web pages there. So, and you'll see that some new photos and some new cool stuff there. We continue to work. We have our USA Sandal Builder and all kinds of sandals that are made literally right there in Wenatchee, Washington. We're working on an exciting project with that's going to be coming out. Christopher McDougall's working with Eric Orton on a book called Born to Run 2, which is more or less like a how-to guide to running and fitness. And we're sort of getting ready to make a little sandal to contribute to that little space, a Born to Run 2 sandal. So be looking for that story. And all kinds of other cool things are on the horizon, aren't there? There's things I can't tell you about, but you can be sure there's always some cool and interesting things coming down the pike. We're always just trying to figure out how to share more cool things that we are learning and experiences and products that we're making. So keep an eye out for that. But I don't know, that's my last word, folks. Any last words from you guys?
Thank you so much, you guys. Yeah, I think this was awesome. It seems like we'll have a second podcast and maybe talk about our adventures in Lunas, and kind of remember
totally, that's a great
that have
idea.
Happened in our adventures and things that we're planning for.
That'd be great. I mean, persistence hunting in Wyoming to survival runs to so many stories.
My gosh, I think that would be rather an interesting podcast for sure. We have definitely been users of this product, and at the same time completely stunned by all the other users of it too. So we've got a little space here, and we're stoked to be part of it. And thank you, all you out there. If you're listening to this, you're part of us too. And man, what a trippy little world we've created all together.
Thanks, guys.
All right, you guys.